Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to my knitting podcast. It's been quite a while since I've last recorded a video and I've done a medium amount of knitting, so I do have a couple things to show you, although maybe not quite so much as I would normally have in this amount of time. I just haven't had that much urge to knit recently, and I've been a bit down over the past few weeks, so it's all sort of combined and resulted in a bit of a lackluster knitting life over the past few weeks. But I have been knitting on a couple things, so I'm going to show you those, starting with the most exciting one. Why not? This is my Gia Zipper Genser. It's a pattern from the Sandnes Card Designs book 2202, I think. And yeah, it's a quarter zip, sort of sweatshirt style jumper with long sleeves, and it's quite boxy, but then it tapers in pretty aggressively. And it's got this double knit neck collar thing. And I am working on the body. I decided to do up until the sleeve split and then to knit the collar. I have enough yarn. It wasn't because I was worried about running out of yarn. I just felt like doing it that way. So I guess I was sort of anticipating the collar. It was quite a wide, like V-shaped neckline, so I thought that that would help me decide sleeve length. I don't know if that's actually going to end up being useful, but it's done now. And yeah, it was quite a task, so let me show you and I'll explain what's going on here. So with this jumper, you start at the back and knit a couple of short rows, not a huge amount of short rows, and then you just knit flat for the arms. Then you pick up on the tops of the shoulders, which you can see my seam there. It's not too bad, but maybe it'll block out a bit. And then you knit down the fronts. And I think that last time I had knit the front, was working on the front. So I have since finished both fronts and joined in the underarm and knit a little bit of the body. And then I put that on hold and went back to work on the collar. So for the collar, it's pretty interesting. You have cast on these stitches because you have this sort of squared off V neckline, and you do double knitting, picking up a double row of stitches here, and then you're increasing at the same, it's not even, I don't think it's even at the same rate as the decreasing on the other side. It's just, it's a very well designed pattern. It's pretty exciting and satisfying to knit. And yeah, you end up with this really beautiful double knit, double thick collar. And then you pick up at the back and you knit the collar, and then you do, you graft the double knitting together. So you do a tubular bind off and it looks beautiful. I do have some holes at the corners, but at every corner that has a hole, I have loose ends with which to seam up the hole. So I'm not worried about those. I'll seam those up easily. And I think it's a really nice, it feels very luxurious. It really took a long time to knit, but I think it's worth it. And then you don't cast off the last couple of stitches on each end. Instead, you knit them to become a zipper facing. So when I get my zipper and I insert it, I will somehow sew this part down to cover the back of the zipper so that it's not touching the skin too much. And you just add those two bits together, and then it's supposed to be equivalent to the length of the zipper hole, which I think it is, but if it's not, I can just unravel and knit it shorter or longer, and that should be easy. I have ordered a zipper. I couldn't find one that I thought would be good at the nearby sewing supply store. I wanted to get one that matched this quite closely, so I ordered like this light gray 12-inch zipper online. And I also did something a little bit ridiculous, but I think it will be pretty cool. I ordered a little like gemstone pendant for the zipper pull, to be the zipper pull, and it's this like bright pink semi-precious gemstone, sort of a teardrop shaped, and I'm hoping that it'll pick up on all of the bright pink flecks in the tweed, because there's quite a lot of that. I think that'll be cool. If it's too big or too gaudy or it doesn't quite work, I can just wear it as a necklace. But it was just an idea I had, and then I couldn't shake it. And I figured if I'm already spending so much time and energy making this very intricate and beautiful jumper, I may as well just, take it the final step. So I'll let you know if that works out. Since finishing the body, I've gone back to the body, and I've just been struggling to knit on this. I keep picking it up and just putting it down. And it's nothing to do with this project, it's how I've been with all of my knitting for the past few weeks. I don't really know what it is. I think I've just been a bit down, and that's just how it's happened. I went for a job in a yarn shop, and I had the interview and it seemed like it went well, but I didn't get the job, which is fine, but quite disappointing. And I'm looking for another job still. I've gotten a part-time one, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough hours. So I need to keep looking, which is, it's just, nobody likes looking for a job, I think. It's kind of a bummer all around. But it's nice that it's getting a little cooler, and I'm excited. I think I'm going to go do a little bit of like leaf peeping, apple picking soon with my boyfriend. So the autumn is coming, which is good. It feels still quite warm, but it is getting cooler. It's sort of jumper weather now. And when this is done, I think I'm gonna love it. I'm a little nervous about the process of putting the zipper in, but I just think I'm gonna keep trying until it's right and take my time. And I'm really glad that I bought the zipper, because I didn't want to have to wait for it to be shipped after it was done, after all the knitting was done. So I still have quite a lot of knitting left to do on this. So the zipper will be ready for me to use by the time I'm at that point. And I might even just put it in when it arrives, or try to put it in. I think I'll probably need to block this little section because it's very curly, so that I can sew it easier. I have a sewing machine. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to use a sewing machine or do it by hand, but I will reference the pattern, and we'll see. I don't want this to be cropped. I would like it to be full length. And the pattern tells you to decrease at 4 points every other row, which is a really quick decrease, so I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do every 4th row. I have a jumper that I've decreased every 4th row, and it's like really quite an intense decrease, so I definitely don't want it to be twice the decreases as that one. So that's the only modification I'm making to the body. I haven't even looked at what it says to do for the sleeves yet, but I'll probably just follow the pattern for what it says for that. The yarn I'm using is Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy. I bought this when it was launched, I think in the second round of it, and it's beautiful. It's this like light warm gray with all of these different flecks of different colors, and then I'm holding it with Laying Yarns. The mohair, it's like 55% mohair, 45% silk, or something like that. And these two together are making a sort of cool toned gray with a hint of blue fabric, and I think it's really beautiful and it's so soft. I've heard other people say that Hedgehog Fiber's Tweedy is a rustic feeling, and I'm not experiencing any of that at all. Like, it's a really soft yarn even without the mohair, but it probably depends on which batch you're buying, because I know that the content can be quite different based on which batch it is, like what they've mixed into that particular one. I bought this online, so I didn't like make a decision about it, but I think it would, if you're looking to make a project in Tweedy, it would probably be quite a good idea to order a sample skein of the batch that you're buying from, or try and get some to feel in a shop. So that's this project. I have worked on it quite a lot since I last made a video, because that collar was no joke. But I haven't worked on it very much in the past like week or two, so it feels like it's kind of stalling. And I'd love to make a bit more progress. I knit one row yesterday, which is more than usual for the past little while. So I really want to like kickstart that again. I'll talk you through my other projects. I haven't made a decision on what to do for my color block fisherman jumper. My dilemma is that I think that the yoke is going to be much too deep on this. If you can see from where the underarm hits my body there. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna either unravel or graft it to be shorter. For the other sleeve, I would just need to unravel because I've knit this flat portion. Yeah, I'm not totally sure what I should do, and I've been a little bit paralyzed by indecision. But the other colors that I ordered for the project have arrived. I don't think I showed them last time, but I have this beautiful bag which my cat tore up. I need to tape it so that it's actually going to be moth-proof again. But the colors that I added were this blue, this orangey apricot, some more of this brown that I already had, and then this one, I think. And to get an idea of all the colors I've got here. Yeah, so this is a really beautiful project. I just haven't knit on it that recently, but I am looking forward to getting back into it. I'd love for it to be done so I can wear it loads this winter. And it's a really nice fabric. The last project that I've been working on is the still very early beginnings of this hat. It's a 1x1 rib on 2.25 needles. It's gonna be a gift for my boyfriend's mom, and it's just a slow going project because it's on small needles and the cord is too short. I'm doing it magic loop, but yeah, cord too short, so it's sort of slowing me down. But that I have in the kitchen, so if I'm ever like waiting on something to cook or whatever, I just put a couple of rows onto that. And I'm hoping to spend a bit more time like chilling out, watching the TV and knitting. So yeah, there's no rush on this. I guess there is at the rate I'm currently going because I wanted it to be a Christmas present, but realistically there's no rush. And that hat is to match this hat that I've shown a couple weeks in a row, which is a hat for my boyfriend's 1.5-year-old niece. And it's a little blueberry hat. And I got this wedding at my boyfriend's brother's. I got this yarn at his wedding. So it's a bit of a sentimental yarn purchase. I used the slip knot cast on for this and for the other hat, but it's easier to show you on this one, which gives a really stretchy, I think very neat looking cast on. It's not too difficult to do once you get the hang of it, and I use it for everything that starts with ribbing because I think it's perfect. Like, it doesn't flare, super stretchy, and yeah, what more do you want from a cast on? This is a cute little hat. I don't know if it'll fit. It sort of fits me. I mean, it's not like a realistic hat for me to wear, but if it fits me, it should probably fit her, right? I don't really know. I do have quite a small head, but not smaller than a baby's. So yeah, I just thought this little like leaf and stalk was so cute. Oh, I've got some hair in my eye. In my last video, I asked for some opinions about which yarn I should choose for the MKAL, and I'm recording this on the 10th of October, so I just I just put out my last video, and I haven't decided yet. I haven't cast on yet. Clue 2 has just been released. I am going to knit the MKAL, but I think I haven't like totally decided the yarn. It's definitely some combination of two of these three. And I'm thankful for the really nice comments with thoughts on it. I think that, yeah, I was trying to sort of narrow it down to what I would like to wear. And I think that any two of these would be really nice. I also have an idea to make the MKAL design into a scarf instead of a shawl. I prefer it when scarves are long vertically instead of horizontally, because the knitting can just stretch out and get too thin. But if they're vertical, then it's a really like luxurious feeling. So I'm thinking about doing like a third of the starting number of stitches of clue 1, and then having it be a bit of a diagonal situation. So I would increase on one edge as indicated in the pattern, but then equally decrease on the other edge. So I'd have like a long strip, and then I'd repeat that all of the clues a couple of times to get the length of scarf that I want to get. I think I would get loads of wear out of that, because I knit a scarf last year and wore it so much, but it lives in Scotland, so I don't have it here, and I think it would be nice to knit one for here instead of knitting a shawl, which I have a few here and they rarely get worn. None of these really go with my winter coat, which is green, but they all would be fine with it. I'm not too fussy about that sort of thing. I do pay a bit of attention to it, just because scarf and coat is the sort of thing that you wear every day in the winter, at least I do. So it's nice if they look good together, but I think it's still just a good idea to knit it as a scarf if that doesn't seem to be too difficult. And if there's a cool border, I would potentially do like a thinner scarf, but then have the border just around the whole thing. I don't know. The opportunities are endless. So I'm pretty excited about that, even though I fell behind. It's because I was visiting cousins last week in New York, and I was there and I got the email that the clue had been released, but I didn't have my yarn with me. And indeed, I had not decided on yarn or wound any yarn, so I had to wait till I got back. And then since I've been back, I haven't really had much knitting mojo. So I'm still feeling good about it. I think it'll come back, and I don't really want to force anything. But it's strange for me because I've been knitting along to the MKAL for years now, since 2020. So, but I'll get onto this one. Don't worry about it. I love the surprise and the community element. Although Instagram's newest algorithm change, when you can't search hashtags by time, it just shows you the most popular ones, is a little bit of a hindrance to the community aspect, because you can only really see the most popular people's stuff or people that you already follow. but I like the Ravelry page for that, like for seeing people's projects. I think that's really fun. And it's kind of nice to be a bit behind because I was able to, I've seen now 2 of the clues before choosing my colors. So it's a little bit out of the spirit of the whole thing, but still a good time nonetheless. I did buy a little yarn since I've last recorded. It hasn't arrived yet. Knitting for Olive had a sale on brown, which was funny, I guess autumnal, but it's sort of a funny idea. And I bought a sweater's quantity of fingering weight in brown. So I'll show you that next time when it's here. I'm looking forward to that arriving. And yeah, I don't know whether I'll hold it double or hold it single and just make a very fine jumper. I'm thinking maybe Linen Creabeas. It's like a 3x1 rib or something with, there's versions of it with a polo neck, but I'm not sure if I would do that. I don't know. So that's my plan for that. And it was very affordable. It was like on sale for $6 a ball. And a sweater's quantity was 30 because I bought 5 of them. And I think that's not bad from like a yarn producer that seems to be quite ethical and eco-friendly. That seems good to me. So this was another very short one. I seem to be alternating short and long podcasts, so I hope that the next one's a long one because I've done loads of stuff. I've done a little bit of mending, but nothing that has been finished. I am working on replacing the elastic in a very old pair of sweatpants. I got them in 2011 and they are the only sweatpants that I own and have ever owned. So I'm not really like a sweatpant person, I guess. This one pair though has gotten a lot of wear over the years, and the elastic is like, you know, when it turns brittle and hard, that's what's happened to it. So I've gotten to the point where I've unpicked all of the seams around the elastic and pulled it out or scraped it out. And since I've been wearing it for 13 years, that fabric was super fused together. But I haven't, and then I washed it, but I haven't gotten to the point where I've put the new elastic in yet. I don't think it will be difficult. I definitely think it's within my skill range, but I don't think, and I don't think I'm gonna bother putting a drawstring back into it because the one that was in it before was like in the elastic, so I wouldn't be able to cut that out. So I'd have to get a different one. And it would just make the whole process much more complicated. So I might leave a channel for a drawstring, but not put one in yet. And maybe I'll do that channel with basting stitches to make it even easier to come back to and fix if I want. So that's sort of in the works. And I have a bunch of mending to do on the horizon. I've washed and pulled out all of the winter accessories and socks that I've made, and a lot of them need mending. So I'm gonna slowly but surely be working on that over the next few weeks as well to try and get everything sorted for the winter. But yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I apologize that it's been such a long break. I normally post a video and then record the next one like a few days later after posting. So there's like, I have the video a week or 2 ahead to post. So for me, there's been a really big gap between recording and posting, even though you seeing this will have just 2 weeks ago seen my last video. So I've missed making these videos, and I was feeling a bit worried that I didn't have enough to show, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine just to show what I've done. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, it's a couple of days later, and I have chosen and wound up and started clue 1. of the MKAL, chosen my yarn. I'm pretty excited about it so far. I ended up deciding, I think in agreement with everyone who commented, that the variegated purple would be good with the purple that I had. And I think that they look beautiful together. I don't know if you'll be able to really see it, but it really, maybe this sounds silly, but it brings out the purple in the variegated purple yarn. Unfortunately, the full skein had quite a lot of moth damage. I've cycled all of my yarn through the freezer since discovering the moths, so there are no live moths, but their legacy remains. And so when I wound the smaller skein, it was totally fine, and I got a good 50 grams. But then the larger skein, I have many small cakes, and I'm just gonna work my way through, I think, the small cakes first. And if I run out of yarn in the end, it's not a big deal. I'll just switch to another color or I'll end it early. But I haven't done the second skein of the variegated purple yet, but you might be able to see. No, I have my Swift out still, so I'll get to that. This just took forever to do because it got very tangled and there were so many breaks. I was kind of sick of winding and I wanted to start knitting. So I have done 2 of the 3 first semicircles, and I'm going to show you them now. So spoiler warning just for the rest of this section. Here's my semicircle. I think it looks really good, and I've done 2 of them. These have been really enjoyable to knit. They have a lot of ends because whenever one of the plies has been moth-eaten, I've just been cutting it because I don't really want weak spots in the fabric. I had briefly mentioned, I think, in my episode that I'm planning on modifying this to be a scarf, which is part of why I think it's going to be fine to have a little bit less yarn. And so that starts here. I think it will be easier in sections where you're just sort of continuing outwards, because I can just do that, but maybe a couple of extra times, but in a rectangle. But this first section is really where I'm going to establish my scarf shape. And so I've been thinking about different ways to do that. I want it to look really similar to the MKAL, but just configured in a different way. And so I was thinking of maybe attaching the semicircles along the sort of flat line, and then having it as a circle and then continuing up. But I also think it might be really cool to join them like this. It's hard to describe. Maybe I'll grab some pins and pin it down so you could see it. Be right back. So here I've pinned the 2 semicircles together with the cast on point in the middle. And I was thinking I could like seam these up and then sort of create corners from this, and that could be the end of the scarf. I think that would be really cool, because that's most of what you'll see probably, because the ends sort of flap around. And then my other idea was to have the sides sort of switched so that the flat edges are on the side. I'm gonna do that now. Okay, this is what the other idea looks like, sort of blocked out so that you'd be able to see how it would be in the scarf. I think that this is a good width for a scarf. I do like a quite wide scarf. I do think it will probably scrunch up a little bit just because of the nature of the fabric is a bit concertina prone. But I think it's a good width. I might even add a little border at the very end, like normally a kloof floor is a border for the shawl, but maybe I'll just have that be around the whole scarf. That would be cool. I like this better than the other one. And I think it would be really hard to seam this edge because of all of the slip stitches. I think it'll be hard to pick up for a border as well, but I'll get to that when I get to it. And yeah, I think that this would be really cool for the end of a scarf. I would make 2 more and have that be at the other end. I don't know if I'll do that now. I should probably do it before I keep going and not save it for last, because I will completely forget how I do the next section. So I think that this is what I'm gonna go for. I've been really enjoying it. I think the colors are beautiful, and I'll probably take like the middle third, or maybe even the middle half of the semicircles and seam those together, and then just do like a wedge on each of the sides and do like a triangle shawl shape. So I'll pick up along the edges and then find the center stitch, and then I think it's decrease 1 stitch on each side of the center stitch every other row. I should double check if it's every row or every other row to get the right angle shape. But I've made a couple shawls in that shape, so I can just check the instructions for those. And I think that will get me pretty close. Let me see if I can sort of stretch this out a bit less. Yeah, so you can see that that's quite, well, if this was a bit less. That's quite close to a right angle. And then that leaves me with live stitches going in the right direction. I guess alternatively this could be the middle of the shawl, and I could just keep going in both directions. That could be really cool too. Or it could be the middle and the ends. And I said shawl, but I mean scarf. So I guess I'll just let you know when I decide. I might keep going on one of the ends and then do clue 2. And by the time I'm finished that, clue 3 will definitely be out because I'm more than a week behind. But I think that that's gonna work, and I think it's going to look really cool. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. I really enjoyed clue 1. I do find that in most of the MKALs I've done, clue 1 has always been really exciting and fun, and like it's before there's so many stitches and you have no idea what shape it's gonna be. So yeah, this one has been no different. I don't know if I'll follow the garter stripes from Steven's clue 1, or if I'll just use this light purple, because I have not a huge amount of the dark purple, so it might be good to try and conserve that a little bit. But yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. I think I'll just keep adding to this video over the next 2 weeks until I post it, so that when it comes out it'll be a bit more up to date, because that's just more fun than waiting until the end. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. Really enjoyed knitting it so far, and now onto the experimental part for me. I finished and blocked my first square that I've made using clue 1. Here's what it looks like. I really like it. So here's the 2 semicircular starts. I split it roughly into thirds, although these edge sections had, I think, 4 or 5 more stitches. Then the center section, I knit a couple rounds in my contrast color in the center section and did a 3 needle bind off. I actually think I'm gonna undo this 3 needle bind off and redo it in the contrast color, because I don't really think that this line looks that good. It doesn't look bad, but I just don't think it looks great. I think it would look better if it was in the light purple. And then I did a sort of right-angled wedge using the contrast color to fill in the gap, doing the same knit purl pattern from the semicircles, and in the center I did a center double decrease every other row, and then I decreased 1 stitch every other row on each edge as well. And my little cast off isn't the neatest, but I'm going to be picking up over that, so I don't think it's going to be too noticeable at all. I have tons of ends to weave in, partially because my dark purple wool is sort of moth destroyed, so yeah, I think I'm going to add a fringe to the end of the scarf so that I can actually use all of them, or as much as possible of the little odds and ends, but there's quite a lot of breaks in the yarn, so that's why I have so many ends. And yeah, I blocked this pretty aggressively. I find that this sort of stockinette purl side versus knit side does scrunch up a lot, so I wanted to block it aggressively and really reap the benefits of using the single ply yarn, which is so drapey and beautiful, and I really like the way it's turned out. I think the harshness of this corner will sort of relax as some of the spring comes back into the fabric, and I just couldn't be happier with it, I think, other than this is what the back looks like. Other than changing this center bar bind off. I think it's really great. I'm really enjoying my MKAL so far. I've knit one more semicircle. I've been doing it on DPNs. And so I'll need to do a 4th, and then I'll make the block. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not prioritizing doing the second block. I think I'm going to actually just pick up the stitches and start knitting. Well, I do have like a little bit left of clue 1, but start knitting the clue 2 alternating designs. And I'm not going to do the increases at the edge. I'm just going to keep knitting straight up. Originally, I had been planning on sort of doing it at an angle, so I would every other row increase 1 stitch on one side and decrease on the other, so that if the scarf was up and down, the rows would be kind of slanted and longer. But since this block has come out so beautiful and square, I would need to add a wedge in order to do that, and I just don't really want to. I think that it'll be nice to have it just be sort of flat right angles. From this point on, I think it's going to go fairly quickly. Like, I might actually be able to knit along with everybody because the rows on mine are so short, especially compared to the big shawl. I do think that I'll end up repeating each clue a few times, not just on each end of the scarf, but like within the scarf, because for a scarf to be functional for me, it needs to be quite long. And so I want a good, like, I don't know, 6 feet of scarf, maybe? Is that too much? I have a scarf. I'll just grab mine. This is my Ellsworth scarf. You might have seen it in the background of my videos, or if you've been watching for a long time, you might have heard me mention it. It was originally going to be part of a shawl, but I actually think I'm just going to keep it as a scarf because, as I've been saying so repeatedly, I tend to wear scarves a lot and I don't wear so many shawls. I knit this in Holst Super Soft. I think I started it in 2020, and it was such a labor of love. I messed up the short rows at the beginning, which is why it's a little bit bumpy at the start, but oh, I guess that's the end. Here's the start where it's a wee bit bumpy. But I really like this. I love the black and white graphic. I haven't washed it yet, and since it's Holst Super Soft, it's really crunchy with the spinning oil. But yeah, this is the length of scarf that I like. It's long enough to be wrapped around 2 to 3 times. Well, that's just 2 times. And tied. And that's good. I definitely wouldn't want it any shorter than this. And the same goes for my MKAL scarf. So if you think about it, yeah, this is definitely taller than me. It goes about this high over my head. It's actually maybe closer to 8 feet. So that's my intention for this. So yeah, I think it will be less knitting than the shawl, depending on how big it ends up being, but still a good amount of knitting. And this is a tad wider than the Ellsworth scarf. So yeah, still a significant project. I think I'm gonna get tons of wear out of it, and I might end up adding a little border. I think that I've already talked about that. So, but we'll just see what the clues look like. So yeah, see you in a moment, I suppose, for you. I've now finished up to the end, sort of clue 2 on my mystery knit along scarf, and I'm really loving the way that it's looking. I'll show you here. So here's my clue 1, which you've just seen, and here is my clue 2. It's all a bit bunched up on the needle at the moment because I'm knitting it on DPNs, but if I scooch it down a little bit, I can spread it out. I've done the brioche and the bubbles. Here's what the back looks like. You can really see the contrast color sort of variation on the back. I'm really enjoying this. I decided to try and aim for each clue to be about 12 inches minimum in the section, and I'll do two of these. So it'll be at least an 8-foot long scarf, which should be enough. I think that this will stretch a fair amount in blocking. I haven't blocked it yet. And it's a beautiful, really squishy fabric. I currently have 74 stitches on the needle, which has absolutely nothing to do with any of the stitch counts in the pattern. So I don't feel like I'm giving anything away by saying that. But yeah, that's an idea of the width. Clue 3 was released a couple of days ago, and I've been sort of trying to figure out how I'm going to work these little wedges in to my scarf. I don't think that I want to do a wedge border all the way around the edge of the scarf. I think that would just add too much width. I actually quite like this width. I would not want to make it significantly wider than this. So that leaves me doing the short row wedges as part of the length of the scarf, even though I sort of am suspecting that it's going to end up being the border and that maybe clue 4 won't expand more on the outside. So I've had a few different ideas. I've thought about just doing wedges, but a couple different sections of wedges. It will probably be quite a bit of trial and error for me since I want it to look neat and keep a fairly parallel and even width to the scarf. So I'm at the moment just watching Steven's video and trying to calculate my stitch numbers and see if if you're familiar with the pattern, there's sort of these triangular shaped sections, but at the beginning the first triangle sort of juts out to the side, so I would need to cut that one in half just to begin with. But I think I know how to do that fairly easily. It's more a question of whether my stitch count works with the just the width of the sections. I could add a couple stitches or take away a couple of stitches, but I think I won't know until I just give it a try. And it's a fair amount of knitting. But that's sort of part of the fun of doing your own thing. I've also thought about doing them lengthwise and knitting up an I-cord or even a few different I-cords and then having, I don't know, like 4 or 5, depending on how thick the wedges end up being. I could even like graft them together, or I could just have them all going in the same direction. So I'm sort of intrigued by that possibility as well. It would be a little bit more out there for the scarf, but it might be nice because then I could like tuck one end through another end. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I think I'm going to try doing it horizontally first. So just see if I can work out how to do a line of wedges and see if I can get it to work for my stitch count. And then if that doesn't work, I'll try my sort of out there vertical wedge idea. I think that I'm getting a little bit low on my purple yarn. I only had 160 grams of it to begin with, and I've got this much left. I've used all of the small balls of yarn that I had now, so it's just 3 of the bigger balls, but I've been saving the scraps because I think I want to do a fringe at the end of the scarf because I love a fringe at the end of the scarf. So yeah, I think I'm going to be uploading my video today, so I will add this to the end of the video, so you'll probably be seeing this the same day that I'm recording it, with clue 3 having come out a couple of days ago. So yeah, you probably won't see the next clip immediately, but I hope that you've enjoyed this like mini vlog at the end of my podcast, and I'm really enjoying knitting this MKAL scarf. I haven't done much on the other half yet other than this semicircle, but it's more exciting to just keep up with what's happening, and I'll worry about the I won't worry about it, but I'll, you know, focus on doing the next half of it when I have time, when I'm not participating in the community knit-along element. So yeah, I hope you're having a really good couple of weeks, and thank you for watching my video. Hope that you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!